photo, sure, I'll take a video. But if it's critical, and I'm not sure about something, last thing on my mind.
When I'm recording vocals, I'm so I'm in such a flow state of okay, that take was good. I like that syllable. I didn't like that one. If I take a video when someone's tracking a vocal, okay, I'm literally going to I have to it takes me twice as long to realize if it was a good take or not, because then I'll just have to listen again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I almost prefer to have the artist, if they want something posted, that after we get done to do basically just a fake take to do it, so it doesn't really matter. And, everyone's happy. But at the same time, it's some artists don't want to waste the time doing that, and some do. And it's I'm not going to waste an artist's time just for my Instagram feed. That's so messed up.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Hey everyone, you may have heard me mention before that I recently started a Discord server for the podcast. If you want to join the conversation over there, you can find a link in the show notes or on the homepage of this podcast at secretsonics.co. In the coming days, I'm going to be sharing a sample pack there with some of my own personal samples that I use all the time in my productions. This pack will only ever be shared on the Secret Sonics Discord server, so I hope to see you there soon. All right, back to the episode. So I wanted to ask you a little bit more about what happened in your interim perm, because I know you had an injury.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear about.
We'll get into actual geeky stuff.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I want to hear how you're doing and also how you overcame it, and I don't know.
Yeah, no, totally. So
whatever you're comfortable sharing, obviously.
Oh no, I actually kind of want to share this now that I have a lot more perspective on it. So last year was a really scary year for me, because I would say around the middle of May, I started getting these very weird neurological symptoms, and my quality of life went to shit real quick. And it sucked. It was basically at the point where I had very little short-term memory. I had very little long-term memory besides stuff that I had kind of committed to memory before. I was very lethargic and fatigued every day. I would have to sleep. I would be sleeping. It was almost like I had mono, but I didn't. I'd be sleeping 16 hours. And if I had a session at night, I'd be sleeping 5 hours before the session to have enough energy to do that session. And I was very, very private about it, because obviously, if telling a client that you're that far out is not an easy conversation. And it wasn't that I wasn't performing at my highest when I was there. It was just, I couldn't do crazy days and stuff like that. And, went through a crazy amount of tests and drugs and side effects from the drugs that were awful. And, no one knew if it was, an endocrine system problem or, a neurological issue. And so that kind of started to sort itself out. Sort itself out 5 months later. Yeah. So basically from middle to end of May to end of August, I was functioning at a very, very low level and just struggling to kind of get by.
Wow.
Yeah. It sucked.
I'm sorry, dude.
Thank you. I'm thankfully I'm on the up now. So I'm, I try not to dwell in it too much. But by about September, I finally came out of the fog. The doctors, no one had a clue, because, I wasn't all the tests that they ran were coming up we have no idea what's going on. You clearly have this wrong with you, but, you don't have this, you don't have that. And it was great that we were knocking stuff out that I don't have, but it was also kind of well, then what the fuck is going on? And so things finally got better at around September. And then 2 or 3 weeks after I felt back-ish to normal, I had a skateboarding injury where I fractured my thumb pretty much completely off, and a wrist fracture over here. And that just sucked, honestly. Here's the thing. It didn't really hurt. It really didn't. The most painful part of the experience was the day after the injury because of the swelling, and the day after surgery, same thing. Otherwise, though, my pain scale during the whole time was very little. Even when it was broken, I was moving my thumb all around, no issues. Like just
from
nothing.
all that bass playing, you know.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And so like it really wasn't all that bad. And I say that
hindsight.
Yeah, exactly. And so like it kind of got annoying when people were like babying me during that time, like friends, not so much babying me like at home with stuff that I needed help with, but like ask me like, oh, that really sucks. Like, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, man, like this, it doesn't hurt. Like the only thing that sucks is I can't play and I can't go skateboard. Like those are the two things that suck. Like I hurt myself during the best weather and, being able to play. And, that sucked. But what I ended up figuring it out, because I was going through at the time all these medications for my neurological stuff that was going on. Turned out that one of the medications that I was on, I'm this unfortunate individual where I get all the super rare side effects from medications that affect no one ever. So unfortunately, the medication that I was on, a very 1% or less have issues with balance, and it can mess up your balance. So there is and I skateboarded my whole life and did crazy stuff, and I got hurt doing something like
an ollie or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Like I got hurt on something that like you don't usually get hurt on. Like it was just a weird, like even my body twisted in a weird way that it normally doesn't twist. My balance was just not there. And so there is like where all my doctors now are kind of like, there's a good chance that your whole injury was because of this medicine. And so it just sucked. But I will say, like, silver lining, it has made playing music way easier. And I know that sounds counterintuitive, but what ended up happening is I had built up so many bad habits that I would tell even my students who I teach sometimes to to play without any real stress in their hand. Like I was professionally playing since I was 15. Like no one ever was telling me this stuff. And so my hand was like, I had muscle, like ridiculous muscle in my thumb. And I was always overplaying, even if it didn't feel like I was overplaying. And even if I concentrated on not overplaying. And now, because when the pins came off and everything, I had no muscle and no muscle mass at all. And I was able to regain my strength in my hand. I really, really focused on basically it being day one and the amount of pressure that it takes to hold an instrument and do all these tasks. And I ended up with actually a decent amount less muscle than I had before. I didn't have pain before because I was very conscious of how I played, but now I really don't. Like now I can fly around my guitar even faster because I'm really not squeezing, because, I didn't train my muscle to get even more, have even more strength.
Yeah, that's so cool. It's like a complete reset,
Exactly. Like, yeah, there's certain flexibility things and certain things that I can't do. And, it didn't go back fully into the socket all the way, so it sticks out, a little bit. But like day-to-day actual usage, way better. Like it was great. Like a full reset that I actually needed. That being said, I wish it could have been done without, breaking my thumb.
Surgery.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And, even the surgery was super easy. Like, it was just one of those things that just like the stars aligned and like, yeah, it sucked. And yeah, I needed help doing a lot of things. But like when all the dust settled, like it was in some ways a very awesome blessing in disguise.
That's cool. Was it hard for you to kind of like accept help and have other people help you do things, or was that easy for you? Because I feel like it could go either way.
It depends on the task. I'm not always great at accepting help, and I really try to find an engineering way that I can do it myself, if push comes to shove. But in this instance, I just knew that I just needed help. And like, I just had to be like, look, I need help like setting up a mic stand. Like, can you help me do this? Or, I can't drive. Can you take me to blah, 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 blah? Sure. Awesome. And like, it was super awesome. Yeah. I didn't have a problem asking for help. I think it was more of trying to get around the mindset. And like, I'm one of those people that like, when something bad happens, I really kind of freak out. And I think everyone around me, including my wife, when this happened, she was like, I don't understand why you're not mad about this whole thing. And I'm like, I can't be. It's done. Like, my thumb is broken. I can't super glue it back. Well, I could super glue it back on, but like, like there's nothing I can do. I'm gonna need surgery. Like, I can be mad at myself about this, which I am, but like, why would I just be grumpy about it all day? Like,
right. There's nothing you could do.
Exactly.
It is
it's
what
just
it is.
making a bad situation, even more difficult.
Did you ever get to the bottom of the neurological issue? Like, or is it still a mystery?
So because I'm in the final rounds of some testing at the moment, because now I'm basically completely back to normal.
Happy to hear that, man.
Thank you. And I have been for a while. So it sucks because either I have again, super rare side effect person, I either have a bad reaction to the COVID vaccine that I'm currently getting, or potentially I got COVID last year before I got vaccinated and just never had symptoms and never showed anything, and and never tested positive. And because a lot of the stuff that I was having of the memory loss and other things that were going on, people have been reporting about COVID, but I come from a family of doctors, and it's kind of like, even joking with the doctors that I talk to about, it's like, we're only 2 years in. Like, no one knows if the drugs that we're taking have side effects, and like, yeah, they could be bad side effects, but most drugs have side effects. And with that being said, and prefacing that, I would 100% rather have the side effect that I did and have my shot than be unvaccinated and not have that. When I got my booster in October, my third shot, I actually experienced similar symptoms for a week or two after, but then they went away.
Wow.
So, my doctors and I are kind of like, all right, well, next time, instead of getting a Pfizer shot, let's see if we can get you a Moderna shot or a different company to see if it's the same, to see if that was the issue, because I've never tested positive, and I've done so many tests. So it's kind of just like, there's only so many variables.
I mean, I was thinking it was maybe like a long COVID thing. Like, it sounded like...
Yeah, exactly.
Some of the stuff I've been reading about long COVID.
Exactly. And that's what I kept saying to my doctors. But like, there were certain things that happened, and it could have just been bad recollection when I was kind of like telling them what was going on. But, it was just kind of this thing of like, what's going on? And like, the only thing it could really be that like no one had an answer to yet was the whole COVID thing. And like, I just hate to be one of those people that just blames it on something like that, because we don't know, but we also just don't know. So it's kind of like,
we don't know.
We
don't know. Yeah. We don't know anything. Like, right. We don't know the long-term
that is very true.
Consequences of this disease. We don't know the long-term consequences of the vaccine. Like, we don't know anything. You just have to choose, what works best. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like,
the only thing we know is if you get the vaccine, the chances of you dying or having to be hospitalized in a severe case are next to nothing.
Significantly reduced.
Right.
Absolutely.
That's really all we know, that they're effective for that. And again, I'm very pro-vaccination. Nothing that I'm saying is trying to be otherwise, but like, it's...
I mean, I'm triple vaxxed also, and, I'm obviously very pro-vaccine in general. But like, you could be honest about it and say like, we just don't know,
Exactly.
We just don't know. And that's fair. That's fair. It seems getting the vaccine seems like the smarter decision overall, because most people don't get crazy, side effects like that.
Exactly.
And it protects you. So like but there are side effects, and like every drug has side effects, and every once in a while somebody's going to be, unfortunately, the recipient of some of those side effects, right? Like,
and it's usually me.
Like, it's usually Dan. You're the statistical anomaly.
Yep. It seems to be my life. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, but who knows? Who knows where we're going with all this shit? I hope we can figure this out eventually, because it's starting to really be taxing, eh?
Yeah, for real.
It's been a taxing couple of years, On that note, let's jump over to mixing, man.
All right.
I'm glad you're feeling good, man.
Me too, man. Me too. I'm like I said, I'm glad to be here. I'm glad things are where they're at. I can't complain.
Yeah. Hopefully, it feels like personally, it feels like we're kind of climbing out of this hole that has been Omicron. It's been a surprisingly difficult wave. I think when it started, everyone's like, don't worry about it. We got the vaccines. And like, it's just been like brutal.
Right.
Just having a son in daycare, like,
oh yeah.
in and out of quarantine. It's been hard for